Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Data Dave Dives Deeper. I'm Alexis, your host of this podcast, and today I am here with, well, don't you know it, Data Dave. Hey, Dave, how are you today?
I'm very well, Alexis. How are you?
I am good. I'm good. I'm excited. We have a guest today to dive deeper with. Before we introduce our guest, though, I want to remind our listeners if you have a question for Data Dave, you can always reach out to us at talktech@d3clarity.com or right on the D3 Clarity website or by connecting with Dave or myself on LinkedIn. We love to answer listener questions on Talk Tech, and we would love to have more guests on Data Dave Dives Deeper. So always reach out to us. We love to hear from you. But like I said, we have a guest. So, Dave, do you want to introduce our guest today?
We are joined today by Ed Gaudet, who is the CEO and founder of Censinet. So, welcome, Ed. We're really great, happy that you're with us and excited to have this conversation. So, to kick this off, why don't you say a little bit about yourself? What got you here? What was your journey to get here? We find that a lot of people have some very interesting journeys as to what brought them to this point. Um, because being on this podcast is clearly a destination.
Oh,
So what
yes.
brought you to
That's
this
right.
point? And a little bit about Censinet.
Yeah.
Welcome and thank you for coming.
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Alexis, Dave. Thanks for hosting this podcast. I'm Ed Gaudet, CEO, founder of Censinet, and yeah, I've had quite a journey. Mine was a bit of a rambunctious child throughout school. I guess you'd say I was patient zero for ADHD. So, one of those report cards that says does doesn't listen, doesn't follow directions, etc. Ended up going to school, going to a business school for writing of all things. So I was a
Oh,
quote unquote technical writer. Yeah. But I did that and went to college and for writing because that's what I could do with very little ease and became a technical writer. And my first job out of school was a startup writing manuals. And I still have that manual somewhere on my shelf, which is filled with books here. And from there, quickly realized in a startup, you get to do a lot of things, wear a lot of hats, get exposure to a lot of different jobs and roles. And quickly, within the course of a year or so, I was running all of marketing for this small startup, I'm an autodidact. So I was reading about even though I should have taken courses at at the school I was at, I didn't. I took things like film, theory of film. And so anyway, long story short is I've been in startups all my career, 11 startups. This is my 11th company.
wow.
I've
Wait,
taken
wait,
two
wait, wait,
companies.
wait. Before you go on.
Yeah.
This is my 11th company, as in it's the 11th company that you've been with, or it's your 11th
No,
startup,
no,
as
no.
in it's the 11th one you've started.
Yeah, so I've been with, and
Okay,
some of them I was early stage founder, and
got you.
some of them
Yeah.
I was early stage, but not the founder.
Got you.
Okay.
Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
I need to clarify this because, man,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
No, it's a good
real.
point.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Many people say that, and I go, no, no, I wasn't the founder in all those. That would be insane. Although being in a startup, I will tell you, if you are early, regardless of whether you're the founder or not, it's a pretty risky ordeal and proposition. And so, two companies public, which again, I was part of the process of taking them. I wrote the S1, drafted the S1s
Oh, wow.
for those opportunities, which was fun. Yeah, I'm a writer, so I thought, hey, I can help out writing these S1s. And that's a fascinating experience going through that process. I will tell
Going
you.
through an S1 process is fascinating. It is
It,
really interesting.
it
It's a
it's
fun
so
time.
it's so fascinating.
My S1 experience was similar. We spent months and months drafting the S1, and we spent months and months then fixing the company to match the S1.
That's
Um,
that's right, which is
and
ridiculous.
then and then we decided it was all a bad idea, so we sold it to IBM.
That's a better process, by the way. That's a better process. Yeah,
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Going public nowadays. I mean, so the first one was in '95. The second one was in, I think, 2014. And what was interesting about the 14 one was that was my first company into, and even though it wasn't a startup, when I joined, I was brought on board to really bring him into healthcare from a marketing product perspective.
Hmm.
And so I wrote the market entry thesis. We went all in healthcare. So we were a horizontal company. We sold to everything from the Vatican to Ferragamo, believe it or not. Those were two customers
Oh,
of
wow.
the
Wow.
product. Yeah, it was a single sign-on product. And in going all in healthcare at the time was very risky, obviously, because you that means you're giving up the revenue that you have
Yep.
currently. But it was the right decision and drove growth of the organization. And it was my first time in healthcare, and I really loved working in healthcare, which is why when I started up Censinet, which is a third-party and enterprise risk management platform for healthcare, exclusively for healthcare. What I learned is that you don't really understand healthcare unless you're in it. Everyone thinks they know healthcare because we're all patients. We know people that have been patients. We have family members that are patients. But from the outside looking in, healthcare looks like every other industry, and it's not. It's like no other industry.
Hmm.
And the excitement for me was really just just experiencing all the goodness that working in healthcare provides that you would not know from the outside looking in.
What's interesting with healthcare as well that I found is that healthcare changes around the world. The
That's right.
business of healthcare is very, very different as you move around the world.
That's right. The business, the regulations,
Right.
the maturity of
Hmm.
the technology, and one of the reasons why previously I hadn't looked at healthcare is because they were always 5 years behind in terms of technology adoption until 2009, 2010, when you had the High Tech Act, the ARA,
Yeah.
which the Obama administration put out, which basically was a lot of money on the sidelines available for investments, and which became a forklift upgrade to the infrastructure. And they went from, being 5 years behind to being at parity with every
Yeah.
other industry from an infrastructure perspective. And that's what really made it interesting. Took all those paper-based processes and brought them to electronic systems. So that was sort of what drove the business and drove the opportunity to take the company public, and then drove the opportunity to start this.
My foray into healthcare was started in what 2005 with a company called Initiate, and what we were doing was patient records
Hmm.
and understanding patient records, and we did patient matching to ensure there was, if you know healthcare, then it was the MPI, the Enterprise Master Patient Index,
Yeah. Yeah.
of understanding exactly who this patient is and how many visits have they had and how many encounters have they had and various other things to say this
Hmm.
person is this person is this person.
Hmm.
And we did that across the US and
Yeah,
across
manage
around the world.
fraud, right? A lot of
Yeah.
people will sort of draft behind other people's identity so that they can get care, and they're not being covered, and obviously that's costly to the
Well,
industry.
yeah,
Hmm.
and with that, cascading that into the clinical, because in most industries, if you get the wrong person, not good things happen. In healthcare, if you get the wrong person, catastrophically bad things happen.
No, people lose arms and legs, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
you hear about the cases where they went in for an appendicitis and they came out without a limb. I mean,
That's
it's like
right.
what happened? Like, but it
Yeah.
does happen. It's incredible. The risk involved.
I think I told the story on the podcast before when we were talking about like governance and matching, but I'll tell you this story, Ed. I went into the doctor's office and I gave him my name, my full name, okay, good, and I gave him my birthday, okay, good. They asked me for my emergency contact. I gave him who was my mom at the time, okay, good. And I go into the doctor's office and they start asking me these other questions, and they've got my file in front of them, and
Yeah.
what I'm answering doesn't really align with what they're saying to me. And I'm like, I mean, you verified my name, my birthday, my mother's full name, like, and we found that there was another Alexis Keller whose mother had the same name as me,
Oh,
who had
Oh
the same
no.
birthday as me. I mean,
oh my
day,
gosh.
month, year. And I knew of her because their story went around of my birth where there was another woman who had the same name as my mom who gave birth to another Alexis Keller in the
Wow.
same hospital as me on the same day
Wow.
as me.
That's like
And it,
Inception.
and we crossed at this doctor's office, and I was just like, delete
Whoa,
everything you just changed in her record. No, no, put it back. That's her, not me. That I'm a different person. Please stop. But like,
that's
if
crazy.
if they would have left it, and all of a sudden now my information is in there, we have different
Yeah.
blood types
That's right.
maybe or whatever.
Oof.
That could have been huge issues.
Allergies, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
really
incredible.
bad things happen. It's really bad.
Yeah.
We developed things like identifying different twins because when you've got twins that have the same parents and they don't have names yet and you don't have everything, so but you've got to create a medical record for the individuals as twins even before they don't have a social security number at this
Mhm.
point. They don't have, like I said, they don't even have names. It's twin A and twin B,
Yeah.
right? And
Baby
how do you
baby
tell them apart?
Wilkinson 1, baby Wilkinson 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what led you to Censinet? What does Censinet do and why?
The problem around third party risk. I was actually briefly retired, and I was acting 18, and I was starting to follow these guys around, the Grateful Dead. And my wife had other plans for me, which included going back to work. So I was thinking about, problems. At Imprivata, which was the company I referred to earlier, they were selling into healthcare, and as part of that process, you had to complete a security risk assessment. And because I ran products, my team had to marshal these through the system. And you saw one. They were all different formats, different questions, different. And it
Yeah.
was impossible to get any quote unquote leverage. And so that became an obvious problem that I began to look into. I reached out to a dozen or so providers, health systems that I'd worked with, and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about solving this problem. What's it look like in your end?" And it was equally as big as a problem, actually bigger. And so that kind of led me to build out the platform, which is we took a two-sided network approach to it, which is very unique in the industry, purpose built for healthcare, meaning that we codified and automated all the workflows specific to healthcare that would drive the best outcomes around efficiency and effectiveness and
Okay.
economics of the overall solution. So we look at not only the, going faster, but we also look at going cheaper and doing it in a way that drives much more leverage and scale out of the system that you would get otherwise. So, like we have one customer, 22 people full time doing the job, took it down to six, and they increased their throughput
Nice.
3x, 4x. Yeah. So it's those types of outcomes that we deliver as part of our overall solution.
Ed, I'm gonna need you to take that down and give me a if you were explaining this to a, I don't know, HR person who
Yeah.
doesn't work in the healthcare industry, how would you explain what your company does?
Yeah. Okay. So, healthcare, just about every process in healthcare, everything that one needs to do in healthcare to deliver care is backed by or supported by some type of electronic system, a piece of
Yep.
software, a piece of hardware. And that wasn't the case 2 decades ago. So, this is a
Right.
fairly recent phenomenon. And just like in finance, where everyone's familiar with losing a credit card or getting their identity stolen, right? The bank kind of makes you whole. But if you lose your data, your protected health information in a hospital, the genie's sort of out of the bottle. And it can be embarrassing depending on what you're dealing with, right? And it's hard to get it back in and made whole again. So the data theft is obviously a problem. But what's even more of an issue, and this came up in a couple of years prior to Censinet starting out, is this thing called ransomware. And what
Hmm.
Okay.
ransomware
Yep.
did was it disrupted the ability to deliver care. So losing data is one thing, but if you can't deliver care, the hospital shuts down. Now
Yeah.
you have a problem because you got people in the hospital that need help. You have elective
Yep.
surgeries that are coming in. You have people that might be in on their way in through an ambulance via an ambulance now have diverted to the next closest hospital. If you're in a rural community, that could be 2.5 hours away. If you're having a
Hmm.
heart attack, you're not going to make it, right? So it becomes a life or death situation now, whereas before it was more of an inconvenience. So that process is what we help solve for. We help to reduce the risks associated with events and incidents like ransomware, like data breaches and data loss. And we do
Okay.
that by helping our customers understand not only their enterprise level risk, those things that they control, but they're third party or supply chain risks, those things that they use but are outside of their control.
Got
So
you.
they can put in corrective actions, remediations like controls themselves, or they can force or require the third party to put those controls in place from a security perspective.
Got it. Okay. And but it's tailor made for healthcare.
Yeah,
So
and so in order to understand the security profile and the risks associated with a third party, you go through a process of collecting data. And
Hmm.
so
right.
what we do is we facilitate that to give you leverage. We do it not only to give you leverage within your own enterprise, within your own health system, but we also leverage the community work too, because we're a network. When
Okay.
one provider assesses one vendor, that vendor now becomes available for all the other people on the network at the click of a button.
So
Hmm.
you collect all the HIPAA assessments and the BAs and various other
All
things
that. Yep.
compliant within HIPAA constructs, and then cross-pollinate those to a certain extent between suppliers and providers up and down the supply chain healthcare so that you simplify the whole HIPAA compliance BA type process.
You got it. Exactly. And that's how we started. And we expanded to go up, if you will,
Yep.
the market to what's called governance, risk, and compliance,
Yep.
GRC, and over into cybersecurity, general cybersecurity. So we
Right.
include a
Oh,
lot of those elements now to the platform. So, for example, we have a whole benchmarking solution as you're entering in data about your enterprise. Wouldn't it be great to be able to see what you look like compared to your peers? We do
yeah.
all of that,
Yep.
which healthcare loves. How am I doing? How's my coverage? How's my maturity? Oh, how are my investments? Am I spending enough or not spending enough? Am I set
Okay.
up for success with resources? Do I have the right ownership of those resources? Or should I, go fight for ownership of biomed because biomed runs all the medical devices and we could do a much better job if we consolidate that under one platform and under one view of risk.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Very good.
Yeah.
Super security driven,
Yeah.
super super focused on healthcare. Okay.
Yeah.
I like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
That was a good explanation. I followed
Yeah.
that
Thanks.
completely. That's what I needed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
And what's
where do
what's
you,
interesting about this opportunity, if I may, just one last point.
no?
One of the core differences in healthcare is that shared mission that you have with your customer that's unlike any other industry, and the relationships you build because of that,
Hmm.
and also the personal mission that this becomes because everyone is either been a patient or if your mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, cousin, friend is hooked up to a device and it gets hit or is on their way in the ambulance and it's under attack, now it becomes personal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a nice tie-in to a personal mission where we want to keep everyone safe. Patient risk is cyber risk. Cyber risk is patient risk, right?
Right.
So we want to make sure that people are safe, patients are safe, and data is safe, obviously, and the operations are safe and continuous.
So, so where do you see the path of data in healthcare going?
That's an easy
There's a
answer.
nice
That's
open-ended
an easy
question for
question.
nice open-ended question
Yeah.
for you.
Well, there's so much pressure on data. There's the pressure to open up data, right?
Yep.
So there's interoperability rules that say that you have to share data or you can be fined. You can be held, um, to some type of corrective action by the OCR or some other, other agency within the Office of Civil Rights is the one that enforces the HIPAA law and enforces the interoperability rule. But there's also the pressure to keep it safe. So you have
Right.
these two competing,
And
you know,
the
uh,
the pressure to keep it not just safe, but from a business side, constrained, right? Only certain data can be used for certain things.
Yeah.
that's right. Yep. Constrained, safe, open, and portable.
Right.
I mean, the P in HIPAA is portability, right?
Right.
And so that rule was developed in a way to actually enhance the portability of data, but keep it secure at the same time. So there's this constant tension between both
Yes.
of those requirements, which makes it really interesting and yet difficult and complex if you're in technology? How do you solve for both while delivering some type of experience that makes the clinical outcomes better, the patient experience better, right? The
Exactly.
cybersecurity better.
Because some of these rules are directly in conflict with each other, right? Because sometimes it's kind of I could get a better clinical outcome if I was allowed to use that data, but I'm not. And I understand why, but I'm not
That's right.
allowed to.
That's
Hmm.
right. That's right. Exactly.
Um, so let me ask another one. So how who do you think owns healthcare data? And follow on from that, who do you think should own healthcare data?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you throwing him softballs today,
No,
Yeah, I
Dave.
exactly.
know.
I'm
These
just
are
I'm
these are
just I'm
great
just going out
questions.
there, right?
Yeah.
I'm just
Well, if it's data about me, I should own it.
okay.
And the system should be a
Should.
steward. I should own it, right? The system should be a steward of the data on behalf of me as a patient. And that's how it
Yep.
should, I think, should work. And then, but then that opens up things too, because if you think about the interoperability rule, okay, great. So I've made that available to an application on a phone, right? I'm holding up my phone, you can't see it. And then I as a patient take that and then do something stupid with it.
Yeah.
I should be liable. That's what the law says. But then how do you prove that it was me that leaked the data versus my health system? Now it
Right.
becomes an interesting
Yep.
conundrum, right? So, yeah, no, these are data sovereignty, if you will, is
Oh,
an
yep.
interesting problem to solve for.
It really is an interesting problem, and it's kind of okay, who should, because is the individual doesn't even know the complexity of the data that describes them.
Right,
So how are they go, how can they steward their own data?
right, right. That's right. That's right. How they don't have the tools.
They don't have the
They can
tools, they don't
they
have the
can yeah, they can consume it, but do they have the right set of tools to actually? I'm just taking a note here because I like what we're talking about. And I might actually do an article on it. So I'm a contributor. I'm a writer for the Forbes Tech Council. So I'm always looking for interesting ideas. Data sovereignty is an interesting one. So yeah, no, it's a really hard problem to solve because it is very fluid. It is very
Hmm.
liquid. And yet at the same time, you got those two pressures, right? Open it up, make it portable,
right.
protect it, make it secure.
And,
Um,
and the individual is conflicted as well, right? Because as we look around it, we're all looking for the outside of healthcare, we're all looking for the benefit. We want somebody to tell us what color of dress to buy. Sorry, I'm picking on you, Alexis, because you're wearing a red dress, right? So we know that Alexis likes the color red, so we probably should market red things to her. And that will
yeah.
make it easy for Alexis, right?
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah. There's
same
a
time,
consumer.
should we be offering that level of benefit? When it comes to healthcare data, that can be very significant.
Yeah. And there's also, there's a temporal aspect of, um, the, the open it up and secure it problem, right? And the state that one is in will drive what side of the spectrum you're on, right? So for
Yeah.
example, if God forbid, my child needs a life-saving operation or drug or something, I'm going to give the data. I'm giving the data.
Yep,
Like if I'll take the risk, like give me the paper, I'll sign it.
yep,
Versus if everything is going well in my life and I don't want any hassles, I want it secure, protect it, don't lose my data, right? So
yep.
there's that weird, dynamic that where the patient or the patient's loved one is in the process of going through as well. That also informs, I think, where people are on that question, Dave.
And it goes another level, right? Which is, say you're in a car crash, right? As a classic example, you're being rushed to the hospital. Wouldn't it be nice if the hospital knew exactly who you were
Yeah,
by the time you arrived?
no question.
But now that would be fabulous from a patient care perspective. But now I'm releasing law enforcement hospital to healthcare.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
solve that problem, I've got to know that this accident occurred. I've got to know who the first responder was. I've got to know what happened. I've got to know the VIN number of the car because it's probably the owner of the car that's in it, even though they're not conscious. They may or may not have scanned the driver's license, but this isn't healthcare data. This is now law enforcement data.
Hmm.
Yeah, and maybe their medical bracelet fell off during the
Right.
crash.
So
And I'm going to administer a drug that's going to actually kill them or put them into a coma.
exactly. So wouldn't it be nice to know exactly who is in the
Yeah.
ambulance, exactly who is going to show up at the hospital? But should they, given that this is law enforcement data?
Well, I'm it's an interesting question, but I'm actually looking forward to when we make that leap, the next move, right? The next step function in our relationship with technology, right? We're sort of in one right now with AI, right? The next obvious move is where we start to plant in the AI chip into our heads. At that point, that's where I want to like enable, okay, I don't need the bracelet or anything. Everything else is in this chip here. Just scan the chip
Something, scan something.
or do the readout of the chip or something,
Scan.
right? Yeah. I'm getting all the benefits of AI, but I'm also like now I don't have to worry about the scenario you just painted, Dave.
Right, but now
It's
carry on,
what you
Alexis.
just described though, Dave, like we're a lot of us are doing to some extent. Like if I'm in a crash and you pick up my phone and you hit the SOS button, you're gonna
Yeah.
see everything that I'm allergic to. You're gonna see the name of my emergency contact. You're gonna see and I carry that with me everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've put that out there, knowing that it can probably be taken advantage of, but just like you said, Ed, like I don't want them giving me medication that I know is going to kill me.
Right.
Right,
If somebody can pick up my phone and stop them from doing that and give me the type of blood that I need, like I'm going to take that risk.
Exactly. All day
Yeah.
long.
right.
All day
All day
long.
long. Right, exactly. But it's an interesting question, right? It's interesting as society moves ever more electronic, ever more data being collected and driven and access to, where do we stop? Where do we go? When do we where is the line?
Hmm.
Well, our default setting is to protect and constrain.
Right,
And because, the flip side of that is it's people. And whenever there's people involved, right, you
There's
got
corruption. Yeah.
good and you got bad, right? And
right.
so if you get too open, you got the government now and you got other people that are nefarious. And so where do you draw the line between giving away too much and, constraining too much?
I feel like we often end these conversations with, if these were easy questions to answer, they'd already have answers. But
I
I
love them.
really have enjoyed just kind of the
Yeah.
thought and the conversation behind this. But we are going to wrap up the podcast. Before we go, Ed, I seen your background. Hopefully, anyone watching has seen it too. You have your own podcast. Do you want to give it a shameless
Yeah.
plug before we go?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you for that. Yeah, so when I started the company, I wrote a manifesto. I always wanted to write a manifesto. Well, it's actually I wrote one before, but I wanted to do another manifesto. So I wrote one about third-party risk, and in there I wrote about the personification of risk. And in healthcare, it's interesting because unlike other industries, it never goes to bed, right? It's always active,
Right.
24/7. Hospitals are always active. They're 65 days a year. So this notion of risk never sleeps became an interesting phrase, and I kind of borrowed it from the Rust Never Sleeps Neil Young album with Crazy Horse back in the 70s, one of my favorite albums. So I really liked it. And I started this podcast because I felt like there was a void. There was sort of this gap in the market where people were doing podcasts, but they were all technical, fairly technical. And I love to learn about the people's journey, like you
Yep.
said. And it just didn't feel like there was an opportunity for people to sort of be people and just be their authentic self. And so that's what it's about. I mean, we talk a little bit about technology and things, but mostly it's about like, if you could go back in time and ask your 20-year-old self a question, or tell your 20-year-old self something, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh,
You're
okay.
on a desert island. What 5 records would you bring? Right? Like, what's the riskiest thing you've ever done? So it's about the person. And, I said I would do it as long as there was interest, and it just keeps being interest. So I just keep doing it. Thank you
It's
for that,
awesome.
though. Appreciate
And
that.
then any major podcast platform, where can people find it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's on all the major podcast platforms. We also do YouTube. We do video as well. So all the
Perfect.
videos are up on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll make sure to put a link to your
Oh,
pod
great.
on in our comments
Thank you.
on LinkedIn. Go check it out wherever you're listening. You can definitely link over and check out Ed's podcast as well. Ed, this has been an awesome conversation. Dave, thank you as well for being here with me today. This has been great.
Thank you very
Excellent. Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Alexis.
If you have a question for Data Dave, reach out to us at talktech@d3clarity.com. We'll be happy to answer your question in the podcast. Thanks. Talk Tech with Data Dave is proudly brought to you by D3 Clarity, your partner in AI, data, and cloud innovation. At D3 Clarity, we offer industry-leading solutions designed to transform your business and drive lasting success. From tailored consulting services to cutting-edge technology strategies, we're here to take your operations to the next level. Ready to unlock your tech potential? Learn more at d3clarity.com.